Hey there guys, it's Zologe here with the deck profile for the new Monarchs. This is a deck that revolves around making the, tributing your own monsters to make bigger monsters, like the Monarchs, and using their effects to gain control of the board, and things like that. It's very anti-meta, and the deck is actually pretty cool. So without further ado, let's go into the deck profile. I'll explain choices as we go along. So first we go for the one Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the beginning. Now we run a couple of lights, but mostly darks in this, but we do run 3 lights, and in case any of them should go to the graveyard, we can easily just go BLS and punch for game if that's necessary. It's a pretty powerful card, and yeah. Next we go for the one Ryza, the Mega Monarch. This guy is actually really good because he allows you to recycle your own stuff. Like, for example, if you know that you have a Caius or a Vanity's Fiend or something on your hand that's going to be dead next turn, if Ryza does not get to stay on board, you can use Ryza's effect to bounce something back. Of course, spin something from your opponent's side of the field to the top of the deck, and as well as get back something that you could be using next turn. Like, for example, a Monarch Storm Forth, a March of the Monarchs, or whatever the crap you want, which is actually a really nice addition to the deck. Now only run one because he becomes kind of dead after a while. When you start, he's good late game, but he's not very good early game. He's good late game when you need the resource, when you need to gain back some resources. If you want to spin back things, just go for regular Ryza. That's just as good. Next we go for the one Zaborg. This is just to reduce the amount of cards in players' extra decks, as well as popping something on board that is light and getting the effects off of there. This is mainly for the Stellar Knight matchup than anything else. He's also pretty hefty. I mean, all the Mega Monarchs are actually pretty hefty, the 2 of them that I run. So they're pretty good. Next we go for the one Vanity's Ruler. This is the last level 8 of the deck. He cannot be special summoned, but when he's on the field, my opponent cannot special summon anything, whereas I still can. So that's really powerful. Of course, there are some combos you can do with this. I mean, this guy plus a Majesty's Fiend equals game pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Next we go for the triple Caius the Shadow Monarch. Now this card is pretty awesome. You just normal summon, tribute summon him, and then banish a card on the field. And because, and if it's a dark monster, you get to burn your opponent for 1,000 points of damage, which is actually pretty cool in this format because the meta is currently dominated by 2 dark decks. So Caius is definitely going to see a lot of play, and he's probably your main source of advantage, as well as, you know, getting rid of, he is your main staple, getting rid of troublesome cards guy, basically. Next we go for the Majesty's Fiend. I only run one of these because I don't like running multiples of him because it can be kind of dead at times, but when you have him on board and you just don't have any Monarchs or anything like that you want to use, this guy is awesome if he gets to stay on board for a while. I mean, the damage, if it gets to stay on the field for at least 1 turn, the damage has already been done for your opponent. If they don't get off 1 turn, you can start doing nasty shit, like maybe bringing out one of these assholes and preventing them from doing even more stuff. So, yeah. Next we go for the the 3 Ryza, the Storm Monarch. This guy just spins something from front side of the field back to the top of the deck, making their next job basically dead in a sense, because you just bounce it back and you kill one of their draw faces basically. So that's kind of cool. Next we go for the triple Ghostrick Frost. We go for triple Ghostrick Lantern, and we go for the triple Spectre, basically the Ghostrick engine. I really just like it in Monarchs because it gives you free tribute fodder for your big beat sticks, for big Monarchs and things like that, as well as keeping your opponent away from attacking you. All of these basically do the same thing, and this guy makes sure that you cycle out cards, as well as making sure that you have a tribute steady on board. Next we go for the one Recover. This is just to make things like 4-mil Synchron, as well as an additional tribute should you need it if you have 5 or more extra deck. If you have 5 or if you have 5 less monsters in extra deck than your opponent has, at least. You can just use this guy as an additional tribute fodder. Nothing too special there. Next we go for the 1 level eater. This guy is basically a Resurrectome, but on steroids. You can just tribute, you can lower the level of 1 monarch you control, just special summon this guy, and you can actually tribute this guy for tributes, as long as it goes for the tribute summon of something. So it's basically a little bit more restricted Treeborn Frog, but it does not lock you out of the awesome back row that this deck can actually run, and the utility cards that comes with it. Of course, the Spectre is part of the Ghostrick engine. I already explained how it works. And finally, we go for the Battle Fader. This guy is a lifesaver and gives you it's probably the best guaranteed 1 tribute in the entire game. So yeah, next we go for Card Advance. This is basically for tribute climbing. Should you need to go for something like a Ryza or a Zaborg early on, you can just go Card Advance and just go for, just get your tribute. You get an additional tribute summon, which is actually kind of cool. And on top of things, you can also make a Vanity's Ruler should you already have something like a Lantern, Frost, or what have you already on board. You can go Card Advance, normal summon something, then tribute them both for Vanity's Ruler. Next we go for 1 Foolish Burial. This card is actually pretty great because it allows us to just ditch our level eater as quickly as possible, because we want this guy in the grave early on so we can utilize him as many times as we want later on in their duel, because if you run out of your Ghostricks, you're gonna have a bad time. So yeah, next we run the 1 emergency teleport. This is for synchro plays as well as, you know, additional tribute fodder direct from their deck. Nothing too fancy about it, but it's okay. It's okay. Next we run the triple Monarch Stormforth. This is hands down one of the best cards that has ever been given to Monarch decks. It's just so good. You can tribute any monster your opponent controls, and you don't lose your battle phase for it, and it's a quick play spell. Sure, it locks you out of special summon from the extra deck, but who cares when you're playing Monarchs? They don't do that too often. So it's really awesome. Next, of course, we go for the 1 March of the Monarchs, just to protect our bigger monsters. Protecting things like the Caius and stuff like that, to make sure that we at least have some tributes for next turn. As well as making the Vanity's Ruler ridiculously difficult to get over, since it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, making like things like, and it protects itself from Tiramisu. So yeah, you're not gonna be having, your opponent's gonna have a rough time getting over this thing without special summoning. Next, of course, we go for the triple Return of the Monarchs. Now this card is really good, since whenever you tribute summon, you can add 1 Monarch from your deck to your hand, or the Majesty's Fiend, or, well, yeah, all the Monarchs and the Vanity's Fiend. The only cards that you can't search with this that are level 6 or higher is the Vanity's Ruler and the Blackluster Soldier. You can alternatively also run Dark Arm Dragon in this, because I run a bunch of Dark, so you might actually want to replace this guy with a Dark Arm Dragon. I'm still doing testing, so, but BLS has done a lot for me right now. And then, of course, there is the first Monarch. It's basically there for the Vanity's Ruler as well as the other 2. Also, it's a quick defensive wall and a tribute fodder for the other ones should we really need it. It's basically just an emergency break or something. You can also use it for Xyz plays, which is actually kind of cool. And then finally, for our last 3 cards, we have the Escalation of the Monarchs. This card is really good, because you can just disrupt your opponent's plays and making sure that you get your tributes off early. And it's just a fantastic card. I mean, this plus a Monarch Stormforth is just, oh, it's so good, because you go +2 basically with it, and it's just awesome. Next, of course, when we go to the extra deck, we actually run a bunch of stuff which is mainly there for sighting purposes. The only things that are relevant in terms of what you're actually going to be making are the Formula Synchrons and the Photon Strike Bouncer. Now, you can potentially make other things like Leo, should you like have a Mega Monarch on board and Formula Synchron at the ready. You can do that as well, but I'm not recommending it, because you're not going to be relying too much on the extra deck anyway. These are basically here just for additional draw power. And of course, the Photon Strike Bouncer. It's basically just a little bit weaker version of Majesty's Fiend's effect, but has stronger attack and it burns your opponent for 1,000 when they activate an effect. Monster effect, that is. So it's actually kind of neat. As for the other cards, we run the Construct, the Great Tornado, Adoration, Shining, Escurdal, Absolute Zero, and the Midrash. Well, the Wind Out, rather. These are, as I said, these are basically here to fill up the little bit of the extra deck, as well as being targets for the Super Polymerization. Should we go into game 2 or 3 against either Shaddoll or Heroes? So yeah. As for the sighting, we go for the Vanity's Fiend, 2 Flying Seas, 1 Max C, 1 Super Poly, as explained earlier, 2 Chain Disappearance, 1 Trap Stun, 1 Vanity's Emptiness, 2 Royal Decrees, and a triple Curse Seal. So tell me what you guys think about this deck profile, and I'm out.